have a very, very special guest, Miss Rosa Donahue. She is part of SMART's advisory board, and she actually started the SMART Body program along with Susan. So welcome, Rosa. We're so happy that you come back to us and give us a class.
Hi, everybody. I'm really very happy and pleased to be back to SMART. It was my home away from home for many years. So today we're talking about the liver. And one of the things to start is, do we know where the liver is or what it looks like? There's the liver. It's right under the rib cage on the right side. Well, in the picture, I think you probably see it on the left side, but it's on our right side under the rib cage. And it is it's the biggest organ in the body after the skin. So it's the biggest internal organ in our body. And it weighs about, depending on the size of the person, 3-4 pounds. So it is, if you see this, you wonder, why do we have a football here? And this is about the size of the liver. It's not shaped like this, it's shaped like in the picture, but it is about this big, but it's soft, so it squishes and it fits right under the rib cage. And a healthy liver will look about this color, brownish, and a fatty liver will look about this color. This is a really fatty liver, but in most cases, it will just have a lot of yellow spots, which is the fat. So it fits right under the rib cage, the lower ribs, and the ribs serve to protect the liver because it's very soft. If you've seen like animal liver, it's a very soft gelatinous texture. And the real liver looks more like the next picture. That's what our livers look like. So you can see that it's not hard like the football that I showed, but it's soft and it fits right under the cage. And that's a healthy liver there. You see, it's all brown. There are no yellow spots. The yellow spots start to show when there's a fatty liver. And it's interesting that I think it was 1950 or so when it started to show up in the United States. Throughout all the states, there were very few states that were reporting cases. In the last 25 years, it has been increasing almost every year. And nowadays, almost every state has many cases of fatty liver reported. So we'll be talking a little more about why it is important, or we are talking about why it's important to maintain good liver health. So we'll start with a little more information on the liver, what it does. Now you know where it is, and now we can introduce more about the liver. So it is the largest, I said, the largest organ, internal organ, and it has about 300 billion specialized cells. These cells are the cells that are doing all the different, over 500 functions. Our livers have that many functions, so it works very, very hard. What it does, some of the things that we do, we could spend the whole month talking about each of those 500 or more functions, but mainly it just converts what we eat into, we eat food, and then it converts into proteins, carbohydrates, fats. It takes away the toxins from those that comes into the blood and detoxifies it, and then it sends it back so that our bodies can utilize all the nutrients from the foods that we eat. But it's not just only the foods. So it is like a factory because it will manufacture more protein and carbohydrates and fats, so it converts it into energy for our body. So it is also a storage house because it stores nutrients that the body doesn't need it all at one time. So for instance, it can store a 2-year supply of vitamin A. So it takes it from the foods, converts it to nutrients, vitamin A, for example, and it keeps it there. Like it can keep it for 2 years, enough vitamin A. That's why we don't have to take too much supplements as vitamin A, because it can be toxic. The liver already has some storage there. And then it releases it into our bodies as we need it. When we need it, it keeps. And then if there's any extra, it will just be excreted. The same with vitamin D. It takes it in, converts the foods into vitamin D, and the vitamin D converts it into a form that the body can absorb. It stores it there, and then when we need it, it releases it. So it's so that's why we call it as a factory, because it manufactures, it creates hormones, it creates all these other nutrients. It's also a filter because it removes all the toxins from the food that we eat. The foods may have had pesticides or other chemicals, or if we eat a lot of processed foods, there are many chemicals that are added, preservatives that are added, and then if there are toxins, the liver will remove those. So that's a filter. And sometimes it's called a filter of the blood. It filters the blood. So one other thing that is the toxins that come into the body don't come just from food. It comes from the environment. There's air pollution or from things that we use, cosmetics. A lot of cosmetics, if you read the ingredients or search it, Google it and see what went into makeup, and you might be very surprised that you don't want to have all those chemicals in your body, because they are absorbed through the skin. So even though you're putting it on the outside, like lipstick or all those other face creams, lotions, shampoo, soaps, if they have a lot of artificial ingredients or perfumes, or they can have toxic chemicals added. The same with cleaning items in our homes. We use a lot of cleaning items, sprays, aerosols, even maybe pesticides, and we can breathe in or absorb it through our bodies, and it gets into the liver, and so that's why the liver takes care of it, which means that we have to keep it healthy because it's working all the time. At any particular time of day, the liver is running through, it is running about 2 to 2.5 cups of blood goes through the liver every minute. So that's a lot of work to do throughout the day. Also, there's not much that we can do, not a lot that we can do to control the environmental toxins or what the others put into the food or the air, but we can control what we eat. So we'll be talking more about what we can do to avoid or to reduce the amount of toxins that we take in through foods. Another function of the liver is it's also a regulator. So it regulates the hormones so that it creates, the hormones are like messengers, like chemical messengers that will tell the rest of the body what they're supposed to do. So it will produce the hormones when needed, but also if there are too many, they will just get rid of them. It's also a healer. The liver is a healer because when we have, it produces these, the clotting mechanisms. When we cut our fingers or, have a scratches, it starts bleeding, but it sort of stops shortly after. And that's what we need, the clotting factors. And the liver produces that. When we don't have that, then you bleed a lot more or bleed faster. So that's important to have a healthy liver so that if we do have cuts or scratches, the bleeding will stop faster. Or when you have surgery, for instance, or go to the dentist, and there's not a lot of bleeding because your liver is producing this clotting factor. The liver can also regenerate itself. It is amazing what it can do. You have injuries, and I think it may be the only organ that can regenerate itself. As long as at least 1/4 of our livers are healthy, the liver can regenerate the other 3/4 of it. That's why you have liver transplants when somebody donates part of the liver to somebody else, and then both the donor and the recipient will eventually develop a full-size liver. It doesn't happen with other organs, like with kidney transplants, because we have 2, so we donate 1, we can live with 1, but with the liver, we only have 1 liver, but it can regenerate either because part of it was donated, or because there were injuries and part of it was removed, or something happened to it. So it's one of the amazing things that the liver can do. So it's many more jobs that the liver has, that maybe, as I talk more about the foods that will come back as what other functions it has. So how can we help the liver? Because we can see that it's working so hard day after day. So how can we help our liver? We can't just leave all the work to the liver. So what can we do to make it easier for the liver? There are first of all, we can eat better. So what are the things that we can eat that would help the liver the most? One of the things is if you can eat dark leafy greens. Those have all the nutrients that the liver needs to perform most of the functions. So these are like broccoli, spinach, any dark green vegetables that you have. But it's in general, try to focus on the rainbow, all the different colors. If you can, every day, if you can eat foods from as many colors as you can, you will be having a sort of a balanced diet and a healthy diet. And you can choose the foods that you like the most. So for instance, the greens, I said the kales, spinach, broccoli, dark green, not like lettuce that's light green. So dark green leafy vegetables are all, there are bok choy, a lot of Asian green vegetables are also very good. Then you have the reds, yellow, orange, like carrots and pumpkin and yellow squashes, oranges. So all the bright red, yellow, orange, they have a lot of vitamin A and vitamin C too. So fruits and vegetables, or tomatoes, beets, all the different colors, blueberries for blues. So just try to find, if you go to the supermarket, try to buy things, vegetables and fruits that are different bright colors. All the berries too, if you can find berries. Then the bitter foods that are especially good for the liver are things like bitter melon. I don't know, we used to do several workshops there long time ago with bitter melon, which is, you have to have an acquired taste for that, but you can try it if you have it or want to do something different. Watercress, cabbage, dandelion. The dandelion can be the roots or it can be the leaves. Now, if you eat dandelions, in Italy, they eat it a lot as a vegetable. And some supermarkets are selling them here too. Just make sure you don't pick up dandelion greens from the road or near any road, because the cars come by and all the from the exhaust fans of cars, there's a lot of pollution that gets into the plants, so the wild dandelions that grow along the roads. So if you have a backyard or a garden that you know there's no traffic going by, then you can get some dandelion roots or leaves there. Brussels sprouts are good too. All the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. They're also, broccoli rabe is a little bit bitter, but that's very good. Turmeric is also very good for the liver. It helps to detoxify the liver, as well as ginger, cumin, all the spices, lemons, and a lot of mushrooms. So there you have lots of choices. Artichokes also are very good. And there are some herbs like milk thistle, and I'll probably talk a little more about that later. Also eat quinoa and amaranth have a little bit of a bitter taste, but that also, anything bitter will help the liver. So try to eat some of those. But you can have all the different grains and barley, brown rice, wheat germ, fennel, flax seeds, all the seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds. And as far as fats, sometimes they said, well, with a fatty liver, or if you want to not want to avoid having a fatty liver, avoid the fats. But it's actually the bad fats that you want to avoid. The good fats, our bodies need that, and also actually help the liver, which comes from like olive oil, avocados, nuts, sardines, salmon, mackerel, fish too. And one thing to avoid is mostly the process, as much as you can. Processed foods are loaded many times with sugar, salt, preservatives, and the wrong kind of fats. So it's not made with like olive oil or clean fats, but it's usually hydrogenated fats that's been processed, so that it's not good for your body or for the liver in general. When you get cosmetics, try to read the labels. Sometimes they're not listed on because they're so small, the containers, but go online and check what are the ingredients. How did they make these cosmetics before you apply them to your face or your body? A lot of you read the ingredients and it's a whole list of chemicals in them. So try to avoid them, because just remember that our bodies are constantly absorbing anything that we put on our skin or that we breathe in or ingest. Drinking a lot of water is important, because that helps to flush the toxins out. And so keeping hydrated is very important, about 6 to 8 cups of fluids. So it doesn't have to be just water. It can be any liquid, including like watermelon, cucumbers, tomatoes. They have a lot of liquid in them. If you can, try to get organic produce, fruits and vegetables, because they won't be sprayed. But if you can't find them or you can't buy them, at least wash your produce very well, scrub them, and peel them whenever possible. Of course, you cannot peel berries, strawberries, but as much as you can peel the potatoes. They're heavily sprayed. Apples are heavily sprayed. So you can peel them. Another thing that we can do to help the liver is to exercise. Try to do half an hour, if possible, every day. And it doesn't have to be exercise like going to the gym or lifting weights, or just walking, going up and down the stairs, jumping in place, or just walking is even if you can't go out, you walk around your home, walk around the table, just keep moving, march in place. That also stimulates the body to help release some of the toxins. Of course, better would be to go out and get some fresh air, or open the windows and get some fresh air at the same time. So there is a lot of talk about all these environmental toxins, or toxins in food, but also the emotional toxins affect our health, affect the liver and our health in general. So that if we try to avoid some of the stresses, or if we get too angry or have all these feelings of, hate or any ill feelings against other people, that also doesn't help with our health. So emotional toxins should be avoided or dealt with, get it over with, and it's move on. So don't carry the luggage over and over again. So that's why the last line, it says, relax, try to laugh more, get enough sleep, listen to music, get some fresh air. So these are some of the things that we can do to help the liver function. And also mung beans are very good for the liver. It has a lot of minerals, vitamins and minerals. And in traditional Chinese medicine, sometimes it's used to detoxify, to take poisons away from the body, to remove poisons. So that is something else that you can eat. You can eat the mung beans, whether they're sprouted or just boil them like beans, put them in soups, or whatever you want to make with, mix them with other beans. So they're little beans, greens, and you can sprout them like the bean sprouts, or just eat them, boil them, and eat them like beans. Put them in salads or soups. Good way to incorporate a lot of these ingredients are in salads. You could put different vegetables from the things that we mentioned before. And then there's one of the things that's good for the liver too is lemons. You can make the whole lemon drink, which is also very good for helping to remove some of the toxins of the in the body. So this one recipe makes enough for doing it 3-4 times, but you can also do just one every day. But this one would be easier if you want to make it for 3 days at a time. So just put the whole lemon into the blender, cut up into small pieces, then add 3 cups of water or juice, or a mixture of juice and water. Yeah, a lot of people have been making this. Some people can take it every day. Some feel it's too strong for them. So if you feel it's too strong, you can start with half a lemon, or half the amount of lemon, or don't put too much of the rind, because that's the part that's bitter, but that's also the part that has a lot of the phytonutrients and antioxidants. And then you put the olive oil, a little bit of it, and you blend it. If you use only water, you can put some honey, because if you use orange juice, then you have the sweetness of the orange juice or apple juice. And make sure it's 100% juice and not those mixtures or cocktails, juice cocktails, which have a lot of high fructose corn syrup. And just make sure it doesn't have that. It's just juice and water. And then you strain it and you drink. Start with half a cup a day and build up to 3/4 to 1 cup a day, and do it 3 times a week. You do it every week or every other week. Just see how you feel with it. And it, for many people, it has helped not just with the liver, but helps to reduce the cholesterol, and just has helped with energy. So it's one thing that you can try. And this mixture, this juice, the whole lemon juice, you can also use it as a salad dressing. Just pour it over your salad or cooked vegetables, And you can add a little more olive oil if you want to use it as a salad dressing. It tastes very good. You can add also, if you are going to use it as a salad dressing, you could put a clove of garlic in the blender just for more flavor to it. So, or some hot peppers if you like hot peppers. Now back to what the liver does. We have the liver produces proteins. It produces carbohydrates and the good transforms the fats into good fats, so that the body can absorb some of the fats, or it mainly helps with digestion. So the liver is always helping. It makes bile, which is a fluid that will help with digestion. And it releases it from the liver. It produces it in the liver, then it releases it and stores it in the gallbladder. And from the gallbladder, some of it flows into the stomach where the stomach receives all the food that we eat. And this bile is going to help digest the fats. So it's important to always have some bile being produced so that we can digest the fats that we eat. Some of the proteins that are very important to get rid of the toxins, to detoxify, is one of them, for instance, is taurine. Taurine is one of amino acid. So the proteins are made of amino acids, which are like building blocks. And taurine is one of the amino acids that is most important in this toxification process. Now, this is an amino acid, and our body produces it, but only when we eat foods that come from animal sources. So most of us do eat, chicken, fish, eggs, milk, beef, pork, any food comes from an animal. But vegetarians that don't eat any of this, especially vegans, vegetarians that eat eggs, milk, cheese, they can get it. But those who don't eat any food from animal sources have to be very careful, because taurine is produced comes from animal foods. So when the body is short of taurine, or the liver doesn't have enough, how does it function? Well, there's another amino acid, cysteine, and so I don't want to get too technical, but if we don't have enough taurine, we can make it from two others, cysteine and methionine, which cysteine we can get both from animal foods or from vegetarian foods. But methionine is it only comes from the body cannot make it. So that's called an essential, important amino acid, which means we have to eat foods that have methionine in order to work with the cysteine to make taurine, which is the one that's going to do all the work detoxifying. So the important one is this one amino acid, methionine. And so where can we get it? Animal foods, of course, but also from the cruciferous, broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. So Brazil nuts also, soybeans, white beans, the large white beans, wheat germ. Wheat germ is very good in these special amino acids. So for vegetarians, especially vegans, it's important that you eat some of these foods so that your body can work with these other amino acids to get to the taurine protein and keep going with the detoxification process going on in the liver. So those are, just remember, quinoa is also a good one to eat. And we mentioned it before as one of the foods that are in general good for the liver. but it's especially good because it has this methionine. So one other protein that also is important is that the liver makes is called ferritin. And this is important because it stores the iron. So all the iron is stored in this protein in the liver. So if we don't have this ferritin, then it affects the storage of iron. And if you don't have enough iron, we can lead to anemia. So that's just to show some of the importance of having the carbohydrates being produced in the liver. So we talked about the foods, trying to eat mostly from food sources, but also in many cases you can't find it, or you just not able to prepare it or store it, so you buy some of the supplements. The problem with supplements is that it's not regulated. Supplements are not medication, not medicine. So it's not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. So there's no such strict control of what goes in it, as long as they don't advertise as saying this cures this. So if it doesn't say that, you can just put it in the market, and you can put any mixture, and you can say this helps the liver, and you're fine, because you didn't say this cures liver disease. So you have to be very careful. You can look for reputable brands. Now with the internet, you can Google easily, Consumer Reports, and there are many other sources to check these products. But you can buy some of these. The other thing is that some of the supplements, they are chemicals. They're not, all of them come from natural sources. Some do, but you can get some of the herbs, but make sure they are not combinations, because milk thistle is very much used for liver health. The problem is that sometimes you don't know if it's all 100% milk thistle or a mixture of what is in it, or even if it is milk thistle at all. So that's why buying reputable sources is important. You can buy dandelion root instead of buying the capsules. They are much more expensive. The same with all the other milk thistle and all the other herbs. You can buy the dry form and have it as tea. Then you can see that it's really what you're buying is what you want. You can make tea leaves from dandelion. Dandelion leaves can make the tea, or even the root, burdock root also. You can make tea out of that. Grind it like coffee, add it to your coffee. Now they're selling coffee with a lot of the mushrooms, a lot of these shiitake mushrooms and reishi mushrooms and all these medicinal mushrooms. They are grinding it up, drying it, grinding and mixing it with tea or with coffee, and they're selling it like that too. So you can buy, fennel seeds is bought not just as supplements, but they do sell it as supplements too, which is another thing that is good for the liver. So milk thistle, there have been many studies that have shown that it helps with the liver, especially to regulate, normalize the liver enzymes. But there are many studies that have shown that they do nothing. So it makes it very confusing for us, all of us, when you read something like this and say, don't waste your money on this. However, if you look at the studies, that's another thing, you have to check the studies. Most of the ones that have found there was no difference, they were very poorly designed, or they were lacking, or the product that they used was not the real thing, or they bought a supplement, and who knows what the supplement had mixture. Maybe it was milk thistle, but it also had other things in it. which is what they combine in many of these supplements. So, however, one of the things that I found interesting is none of them said that milk thistle was harmful. Of course, there's always somebody who may be allergic to it, and then it is harmful. But that you can be allergic to just about any food or chemical. So that was one recent review that I read. A doctor pointed that out, that yes, there are studies that said no, milk thistle and some of the other herbs that are claimed to help the liver do nothing, but they did not prove or show that it was harmful. So this doctor was saying we need to do more studies on that. And I can just mention that when I was working there in SMART and in other places in New York City, we did have milk thistle to give out to clients, but they were the seeds themselves. We bought it from a reputable source. They were organic seeds that were ground up. You have to grind them up in a coffee grinder. It won't work in a regular blender because they are really, really very hard. You turn the blender on and it just goes around and around, and so you need a coffee grinder. And that way you know what you're getting. So you can try, and many found that it normalized the liver enzymes when they went for a blood test. So I don't know, I haven't followed up lately on that, but you might want to check with your doctor or practitioner, health practitioner, and see how they feel about these supplements. I did find many of the people who use the milk thistle just found it to be fine. And just remember, more is never better. And that's when it becomes toxic too. Anything that's you take in excess can be toxic. Ibuprofen is better to take than taking Tylenol, because excessive Tylenol, then this has been proved, an overdose of Tylenol, which is an overdose would be about over 4,000 milligrams. It can really damage your whole liver in as little as 1 week. So that is how scary it can be. But they have shown that ibuprofen does not do that. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have any side effects, but it's not going to destroy your liver like Tylenol. It was, or any painkiller that has Tylenol, which is the acetaminophen. And they also found that if you take aspirin, it's also okay. Just not in excess, but as compared to Tylenol for the liver. Make sure you tell your doctor what medications you're taking, because some of the supplements, if you're going to buy supplements or just herbs, might interfere with some of or even some foods might interfere with some of the medications. Like grapefruit is great for the vitamin C and for liver health. However, a lot of grapefruit can interfere with some of the medications taken for high blood pressure, which means in most cases they say, or I've heard that people are being told to just avoid the grapefruit. So I wonder why not just maybe reduce some of the medication, because what it does is it enhances the effect of the medication taken for high blood pressure. So if you take less of the medication, since the grapefruit is increasing the effect, it might work. But you would have to talk this over with your health provider and not do it on your own, because you have to monitor it with your your lab results and see what works for you. We are all very different. So there's nothing that works for everybody. Alcohol, of course, it's also not good for the liver. So there is no way of knowing how much or how little alcohol you are allowed to take, or you could take if you don't have a liver disease. So, but it is known that alcohol will damage the liver, either in small amounts or bigger amounts. So usually they say, if you're going to drink, just do it once in a while and not too much. Just like half a cup, 4 ounces of wine is one, like would be one dose, or a 12-ounce can of beer, but maybe on the weekend. But if you do have some liver problems, just try to avoid it. So in summary is, for foods, what can you eat? Just eat as many colorful foods as you can, and every day. Avoid processed foods, because the way they're processed, they have a lot of chemicals and preservatives, a lot of fluids. Drink fluids, helps to flush the toxins. Avoid alcohol, cigarette smoke, the bitter tasting foods that we mentioned. Do some exercise, walk, go out. And let's say, eat like a prince, which means you have a good breakfast, lunch like a king, eat a lot, your main meal, heavy meal, and then dinner as a pauper. So, of course, here in the United States, we do the opposite. We lunch like a pauper. We're on the run. We don't have time. We have a sandwich or we grab anything, and then we fill up at dinner with a big meal, which is for health purposes, it's better to eat less at night, because then you go to sleep and you don't have a full stomach, and the liver has to work a lot to digest all that. If you do it at lunchtime, then it has more time while you're still up and walking and moving around. So whenever you can, try to eat more your main meal or more at lunchtime and less at dinner, or at least 2-3 hours before you go to sleep. Don't eat and go to sleep right away.